Hi, in this video I want to show you some basic hand building techniques. We're going to start with the most complicated one because it's the noisiest. But before I get started, I have a couple of credits to give. First, I really want to thank Jan Getz, who's the camera person and producer of this video and this series of videos. I also want to thank a couple of companies, High Water Clays, and I thank them, a shout out to them, because this is the first time in my life I've ever lived within a couple of miles of a major clay supplier. They're great. And my friends at Twin Denim, who made the apron that keeps me relatively clean and able to go home at night. So today though we're going to talk about hand building. And this tool is a pneumatic extruder. It's made by the Bailey clay company, pottery company, and it operates on a 90 pound per square inch pressure system. And you may hear noise here when we get started on this because there's a compressor in the other room that's going to start up. An extruder is a way of making a shape in clay using a mold. And in this case, I have at the bottom of this form, clamped in with these C-clamps, a square, an open square that will make a square cylinder that I'm going to manipulate when it comes out of the tube. So I've got clay in the barrel. I'm lowering it, and I'm going to use a foot pedal to control this and drive the clay down with a plunger. It'll take a couple of times because the first slab of clay was simply going to fill the barrel. So now I've got more clay in it, and I'm ready to start extruding. So this extruded a hollow shape in clay that I twisted. It extruded a hollow shape in clay that I twisted as it came out of the mold. So I can make a number of those. Little peace and quiet. So those are shapes that I'll let set up and dry and use later in a construction. That's one form of working. Now another is a slab roller. And this is sort of a big rolling pin, except that it has two rollers, one on top of the other. The thickness of the slab is adjustable. And to use it, you fold a piece of canvas, you put it right up against the rollers, and in the canvas I've got some pieces of clay. So I'll simply push that clay into the rollers and roll it through like a press. It's important to have the pressure on both sides of the slab because it makes the clay uniform. Keeps it flat. So I'll get a shape like this. Now this shape is useful because you can do anything you want with it. Clay is malleable, and so I'm going to simply cut it like this, and I can use it with a press mold to make what I call a hemisphere, but some people might call a bowl. But I'm going to use it as a sculptural part. So I'll press the clay into that form. Get off the excess. Set this aside. I'll use like a rib to smooth it out. Get another stitching tool so that I can work on that. And just smooth it out. And this also presses the clay into the mold surface to get a smoother outer surface to it. Okay, so that will make a hemisphere shape, which you'll see pretty soon as we start assembling pieces. This other slab that I made earlier has a variety of uses, or could have a variety of uses. For instance, this piece, which I'll show you I'm going to be adding coils to, started off with a slab like that as the base of the piece. Okay, so a single slab was used under it, and then I cut flat slabs I amazed my father once by cutting straight lines with a knife without a line, drawing anything. But I'll take a flat slab like that, and it can be used to make the wall of a piece. So when I made this piece, I used about 3 pieces of slab like that, about that high, and I connected them, and then I just let it set up. Okay? Came back in a couple of hours, and I was able to add another slab over the top of it once the clay was stiff enough. See, right now, this is very flexible. Okay? But once it dries, it gets leather hard or stiff, and if you keep the upper surface moist, you can keep adding parts. So I did that here, but as it got closer to the top, I switched to another technique, which is coiling. And coiling is about the oldest form of working with clay there is, other than pinching it and just making little balls out of it. But with a coil, you can add over and you can gradually build up huge forms, baskets, whatever shape came out historically. So I'm going to roll a coil, and it's pretty simple. You just squeeze the clay out with your hands to get a basic coil started. And then when you roll it, you roll with the palms of your hands, push forward, not down, and roll as far forward as you can. Don't roll like this. Roll like this. And make it into a long coil by simply moving your hands very rhythmically along the overall surface. Okay? So once you have that, you can coil it, adding it to the piece. Now I'm going to score this surface so that it bonds a little better. And I'm going to add the coil. I'm just going to drape it in my arm like this. And I'm using my thumb to push the inside of the coil down over the inner wall of the inside of the piece, right? So I'm using my finger, and you'll see the coil twist slightly when I do that. Pinch it off. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to pinch that wall together. You'll see this is also on a turning table because you always want to work in front of yourself. You don't want to get twisted up on it. And pinching the two walls together like this makes for a really good bond. And then I'm taking the clay and I'm just going to take a little wooden tool, smooth down that extra texture. Then I'm just going to smooth the clay out with my thumb. I'm spinning this wheel with the pressure of my hands on the clay. My hands never left my wrist. Okay. And then I'll take a paddle and compress the clay, moving it upwards. Clay is a wonderful material. One of the things about it is you very seldom work directly on it. You always work at angles. So now I'm going to let that set up a little bit, and eventually I'm going to close the top of this and make a closed form, and this will be a part of a sculpture, and you'll see that get added to another piece in another video. Okay, thank you.